Welcome back, Flutter developers. Welcome to my channel. And this video is in the continuation of the last video where we were persisting theme using the shared preference. So in the last video, we persisted our selected theme using shared preference plugin. And in this video, we will be using database to be able to achieve the same behavior, to persist the same theme setting. And for this purpose, we will be using Moor Flutter plugin as the main plugin and the other dependencies to support this plugin. So let's get started. All right, so I have written here this article, the companion article, which goes with my local database implementation for Moor plugin. So let's go very quickly over this article, and then we'll dive into our code. And finally, I will show you how this is the running across platform for iOS, Android, and web for a database and for using Moor plugin or using shared preference. So as the background of this article, again, is based on my old article where we implemented theme switching using provider, and in here we will be persisting the selected theme using the local database and using Moor plugin. The applications looks very straightforward. It has this little button to switch theme, and which theme it switches from dark and light theme, and vice versa. So the pub.spec.yaml looks like this right now. So we need quite a bit dependencies to support the database integration. So usually in this particular case, we may not need a database to store or persist our setting. Shared preference might be enough. But why we are but I want to show you like how to achieve the same thing using the database. So it's more for a contrast purpose, and also to see how much different it is to achieve the similar thing, and what dependencies are needed more. So what's like the difference between shared preference and the DB SQL using Moor plugin. So Moor plugin or database the persistence of data you can use when you want to store the reliable data, but shared preference is actually not very reliable, as their website says so too. So as you can see, the shared preference uses the and is user default for, of course, for iOS, and shared preference for Android, and which actually is good for the simple data storage, and it does persist on the disk asynchronously in the little files. But neither platform can guarantee that writes will be persisted to disk after returning, and so this plugin must not be used for storing critical data. So that's one of the case there where you may prefer to use database over shared preference. All right, so let's see how we can achieve the same thing for learning perspective in database using Moor plugin. All right, so first dependency is Moor right here. And again, all the plugins links are right here. So if you go here in the Moor plugin, it's right here. So as you can see, I'm using here not the Moor Flutter, the Flutter implementation. I'm using here the cross-platform implementation. And so as you can see, it's supported on Android, iOS, and web, and of course the native. And there are a couple of things I want to bring out here in attention. So there is a very cool template app code here in Flutter to do app that I also provided the link in my article, is right here in Moor shared, which is a great to-do application for which runs across platform. So I have used this set template to implement few of the things that I will show in a bit. And for the web, you can actually, the instructions you can follow here to set up your project. So but there are two things. one thing is like how to do the cross-platform implement, and which is right here, which we'll go over in our code base too. But the main thing that I haven't written explicitly in my article, just because it's kind of duplication of this great article, like you may want to add these 2 lines of JavaScript code, and you can download these versions, the latest version of SQL -wasm.js and SQL -wasm.wasm here. So you can get a copy and can add in your web folder like this. So how I did it in, so where's my web folder is right here, and this is my index.html, and here I added these 2 JavaScript, the SQL wasm.js right here, and my files are right here. The JavaScript file is right here. This is the file. Okay, yeah, so that's the only setting that you may want to keep in mind when you are setting up your Moor plugin for web. All right, so let's go back to our article. So that's one thing. And second thing is we are using Moor_FFI plugin. So what is this plugin? So this is actually to generate Dart bindings to SQLite, and that uses Dart FFI. And FFI stands for a Foreign Function Interface. Let's go quickly look into it. So it's right here. And the great part is it actually supports all these platforms: iOS, macOS, Android, Windows, and Linux. Android when used with Flutter. So this is to generate the binding for our SQLite database. And I used Moor, not the Flutter Moor plugin, because this implementation is going to be cross-platform. It's going to be for Android, iOS, and web for this. However, this is true for Mac and Linux and Windows too. But in this article, I haven't ran that one on those platforms. So I don't want to talk about that right now. Maybe a different article. And if you're interested in learning how to do for that 3 different platforms, Linux, Windows, and the Mac, leave the comment and I will be happy to make a video for that one too. So now the next plugin is Path Provider. So Path Provider is actually to find the database path, especially on native on your mobile device, right here for Android and iOS platforms. And there's another one more library, Path. So Path is for it's a utility library for finding the file system path manipulation, like join my file and getting the right path for the file. So it's more a utility library. And now there is a dev dependencies here, as you can see. So these thing is by default. So here is a Moor generator and the build runner. So what is Moor generator? Moor generator is actually converts your table class definition into the database code. It generates the boilerplate code automatically. And what is this build runner? Well, it is actually we have to run this command to generate this g.dart files, which is the bindings. Let me show very quick what these things mean in the code. So right in here, let's close the web and let's go to our database implementation. So this is my pref. So this is my database file, as we saw, theme.prefs. So in storing my theme, I'm using a table which has 2 columns. One is the theme ID. I want to save just the theme ID, which we saw is an enums index, and the name. I will not be using name really, but just I used for sake of completion. But I will be using only theme ID, theme_ID. So now you have to use this annotation here, use Moor, and you have to put table's name, what the table is for, which is here. So this is how we prepare the database table in our case. And this is where you provide other things too about the database details that I will go in a bit in more detail. But let's see what this thing is first. theme underscore pref.g.r. So these are my bindings that actually Moor generator generates. So let's go in here. So at the beginning, you may see it erroring out because it's not generated yet. So you have to run this build, this whole command, build runner command, to be able to generate that this file theme underscore pref.gr. So let's see in the quickly inside what is in there. So first thing is generated code, do not modify by hand, and it's generated by Moor generator, and it creates your data class in theme pref data class. And as you see, it creates like all boilerplate code for your tables for SQLite binding, and it also create like for the serializer for JSON, this whole thing that you will be writing otherwise with hand, which is very great. However, you see the table name stays the theme underscore prefs, what you gave to your thing here, your class name, the table name. And however, you will see a little difference. So theme pref is actually, so when it creates a data class, it removes the S from here. So as you see, it's a theme pref here, but you actually gave the name theme prefs, right? So theme prefs is the table name, and the data class name is actually theme pref. So let's find theme prefs. So this is my theme prefs right here. So that's the table name, just so you know. And it makes it very simple to create the write your SQL command. All right, so let's see what else is there to prepare your database. Of course, there is a schema version to bumping the database, and also you have to provide a migration strategy. In my case, I have provided a very simple migration strategy. First thing, it creates like all tables, and if there's an upgrade, it drops all my settings and recreate my table again. And when it opens, before it opens, so by default, actually I have my light theme as like, which is 0 index, as my default. So what happens when is there's a new upgrade comes, in my case, it reset my thing and reset my theme to my light theme again. But you provide the strategy which is better for in your case. And again, the very similar methods that we done for shared preference. You see active theme is right here, and what we are doing, we are inserting a row in our table. We are saying theme ID is this and theme name is this, that's it. And in deactivating, we are deleting this from our table. So the keyword, as you see, it's very simple, like into, and which goes in the query engine, and which is right here, and it is inbuilt, which is so great, simple, and into this table, which is theme prefs. And so what is theme prefs again? Theme prefs, you go inside, so this is your table, which is right here in our generated class. That's where it's coming from. And you insert your pref. Pref is your the table you created, the theme pref, the data class right here. So whichever is there, it has a constructor, it used a theme ID and theme name, and that's where you provide. So whatever is you define here, it actually goes, it becomes a constructor here, and you can use this data class to create your own row. It's like a row and insert into in here. And for deleting or deactivating this theme, you actually look for that ID. It's like a where t, and then it's like a theme where the theme ID is equal to I, and go means go, delete. Okay, and one thing I'm doing here just to check whether my ID is here or not, and it actually streams, so it keeps a watch on the query, and if there's any change in here, it actually let you know, if it notifies whoever is subscribed on to if there's a change in the query. So you can use watch for that. And get active theme is like whichever theme is there, is just get me a single record of that. Okay, so this is what we are doing in our themes underscore prefs, and this is what the generated file is. Now let's see what we are doing here. So this is the step 2 is we are preparing the database that we just went over just now, and this is the command. So once you define this file, write this file, you may want to run this command to generate your theme underscore prefs.g.art dot right here. And now the next thing is like sharing database implementation across platforms. So how we do that? So let's go back to the code. So this is my themes, and as you might have seen in my older articles too about Firebase, like here, right here, and platform and so on. So similar thing we are doing in our database as well. So we have a share.dart, which what it means is if some platform is unsupported, it says okay, it goes to unsupported and say platform is not supported. And this is a construct. DB is the one which actually gives the instance of DB to the pass this instance of database to the theme to my app, actually in my this case to the provider. All right, so in the shared we have, if it's in the library is HTML, that it goes to web.dart or it goes into the mobile. So let's check web quickly first. So web.dart, let's close this one. So it creates the construct, the database, and it's the my database. So as if we click on it, this is the same my database in the theme pref. And as you see, we are using the web database here for the web implementation, and we're calling it DB, and this is the log statement whether you want it to be enabled or not for logging, for debugging purposes. And the mobile implementation is right here. As I said, I took this code from the to-do app template project as mentioned in the Moor plugin. So in the construct DB, which is a great reusable piece of code. And for iOS and Android, what we do, we create the lazily database, and we use paths for this purpose. We get application document directory and give a file name. So this is where we use the path, this path library to be able to create the file name. And for the paths we access the local directories on our platform, and then we create the database and we return the database. For iOS, for Mac OS and Linux, we can do something like this, and Windows like this, or in regular cases, we can just return the VM, Dart VM code. It's because it's a pure Dart library. So this is how we can share the data across. So now where do we use it? Like how do we, where we call construct DB from? From two places. So let's go back to our DB right here. So as you can see, there's two ways to run this code again, the very similar to shared preference. So I uncomment this code. So first thing is this is a provider. So it's a multi-provider. One provider is a change provider for the theming, which notifies the themes. Another is the database. So this is where we use the construct DB from. And when don't forget to use the dispose to close the DB when the database is done. So this is where this is comes from. So either you can use this piece of code here or in the router. So let's see in the router. In the DB, so it's the same code right here, which is wrapped around in the material page route, the multi-provider and the theme caching, DB caching right here. So you can choose any one way of doing it. So I usually use this way when I'm just working on this code recipe, and when I'm integrating as a part of the whole app and want to run on all the platform, I actually add my code right here and disable right here. Okay. Just because my environment get confused if it sees too many main methods in the one app. Okay, so let's see what we did right here. So this is the code that the step 3 talks about how to create the construct DB or how to share the database code right here. And now the app's entry point, it's similar to what we talked about shared preference, but in this case it's the theme, is the Moor right here. This is the second one. And as we talked about just now, as I showed you, we can use it either as a standalone or from the router.dart. And now loading theme from database. So themes.db.dart, very similar to how we do it in the shared preference code as well. However, the implementation will change, and let's see what's changed there. So right here, as you see, provider dot, this is, we are loading the active theme. Let's go what's happening here. So when we are loading, we are actually getting the activated the active theme ID, which is my current theme ID. So let's go in here, what's going inside. So it's talking to the database and it's fetching my get active theme from my database right here, the one record. So this table has always one record. If there's another team get activated, it deletes the previous row before. So let's go over these methods and then we'll put them together. So when we load active theme, it actually get active theme. It gets the one row from my database, and it gives me the ID, and that it fetches the theme based on that ID and notifies to my app that this theme is being loaded or updated. Now, how to so this was all about the loading. Now switching, how when we switch, so this is all about the same code that we talked about. Now switching to and saving theme. So we switch, as you see in the current, we switch and then we save. So in saving, this is the same code right here. So first thing, we update our current theme, and then we take our database instance as a from provider, and then we take our, if this theme is existing or not. So if there is some record is there, then we want to delete it. So because there's only one row of the theming there. So there's a different ways of doing this. Either you can have a unique constant and can just enforce it. If unique constant is being exploited, then delete the row. One way of doing this is that one is this, like if there's a theme exists, then you can delete it probably. But this is not a big deal here in this code recipe, just because we know there could only be one record. And as far as this is some data is there in your database, you want to delete it and you want to activate the theme which is coming. So it's very simple. So we are activating the theme, which is again going and inserting the theme ID right here. So what we covered here is yeah, and that's it. It's very simple. So again, to review this whole what we did in this code recipe. So first thing, we had the Moor dependencies added, and we prepared the database which has a one row, two columns and one row only. And we created a migration strategy, like if it's upgraded, it always defaults to the light theme, and activated, when we activate theme, we add a row. When we deactivate, we delete that row, and we use the theme ID exist. This is actually more for demonstration purpose, like how you can watch a change in the stream. Not really we really uses you needed that, but this particular method in this case, and getting the active theme, which is a single row. So, and running this command to generate our dependencies, the bindings for the, or generating the boilerplate code for SQLite. And finally, then we wrote the database, shared database implementation for across platforms. And then finally, we merged, very similar to what we did in the shared preference, like we changed the implementation details of the our notified code, where we load the theme, like how we load the theme, how we save the theme. So the way is different, as if we in shared preference, we save to the shared preference, we load from shared preference. In databases, we save to the database. Basically, we save, delete the old row and add a new row. And when we load the theme in the beginning, we check that if it exists or not. Actually, it always is there, because we all make sure there is a a light theme row is always there when database starts. So it fetches that data from the database and it shows it is using provider. Yeah, so and here's the links for these all plugins and for all the uh, articles right here that you may want to find useful and interesting. And now I want to show you very quick before wrapping up running the same code in all the platform, just so you know it works on all the platforms. So let me show you on Android first. So in the theme action again, so when we navigate away from our page, it resets back. So that was the problem in our themes in action recipe. So now we want it to persist. So with the Moor, we switch theme, we come back and we go back again, and there you go. It's now the dock theme. Now in the shared preference, you go and there, and let's go back again, and it's persisted. Now back to light, and it's light. So you can see it's getting persisted across our sessions. So now you can run your you can run on Chrome or open or from iOS Simulator right from the IDE, as you know. So when I click on this, it will take a couple of minutes and will launch it. And the same time, so I just want to say one last thing about Xcode Studio. So if you're not able to run your Xcode from here, there might be reason you might need to install some code. And Android Studio doesn't show all these things always. It just like kind of show you it's working, but in behind the scene, your Xcode or is asking for permissions that you can't see. So if you feel like you're stuck, not able to run your simulator, your app on the simulator from Android Studio, so you can run the code using like this, and you say flutter and open into Xcode, and that will make sure all the dependencies are loaded and everything installed. It will take a while sometimes for the first time, as you can see, and then it will run the build and it can run. So it's initializing. Okay, so we have all the platforms up here. We have iOS in the middle, and Android is right here. Let's set them up. So now I'm running the same app in the 3 different platforms, and as I'll show you the default app, which is theme in action in all, and then shared preference, and then more. So I'm clicking, this is my web. So I'm switching my theme, I'm going back, coming back again, and again, it's gone. So let's go, and now let's do the same thing in iOS. Theme section, switch theme. Now I go back, and let's come back again, and it's again gone. And in Android, it's right here, theme switch, and I come back again, and let's go back, and it's gone again. So very same behavior. Now let's check in Moor, just because it's right here, and let's go in Moor in all. Okay, it looks like already was playing around. So let's switch back to this theme, and right here again. So there was playing around there here too. Okay, so now all these are Moor, and they're in the light theme. Now let's switch themes for web and for iOS and for Android. Okay, now I will go back in all the platform. Let's go in and here, and this is my iOS. Okay, now I go back in my web in the Moor again, click on it, there you go. So it's dark theme in here too, and in Android too. Cool. So let's go back in here, and let's try the last one in the shared preference. So as you see, they're all so this is from my last round that I was playing. So let's make to default all of them to the white, to the light theme, and then make the dark theme again. right here, and you go back, you navigate away basically, and right here, and in the Android too, you come back out. So now in the web I want to show you. Let's see, I reloaded my app using this, so it will take a while to come back. All right, it's right here. So now let's see if it's persisted. There you go, voila, it persisted. Let's see in the iOS and in the Android. Yeah. So as you saw, we ran the same code in all these three platforms, and that works very seamlessly, very same experience. So this concludes my video about saving the persisting the theme settings in your using shared preference and using local database using the Moor. And again, if you need any other thing that you have feedback and you want me to make videos about that you are that you are trying out new thing and you don't understand, feel free to reach me out. And also the new topics you want me to cover, leave the comments down below, and then or send me an email, which is down there too. And I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Goodbye.